Hello, everybody. Welcome into this first edition for us taping this week of our series 2019 football preview, Mountain Valley News North Jackson Press. We're going to be talking to local coaches this year and getting a outlook for the 2019 season. And we're happy this afternoon to be joined by head football coach, Fife High School, Paul Benefield. Coach Benefield, welcome to the show, and glad to have you with us. Want to get started off with kind of a general question. We've been talking a lot about different things leading up to this, but I just wanted you to talk a little bit about your offensive and defensive philosophy. You've had a lot of success at Fife, and I know I've been curious to kind of hear your take on your general approach to the game offensively and defensively, and I know our listeners would like to hear that as well.
Well, it's something that evolves over time. I was raised kind of in wing tee and basic wing tee offense. I ran it for years and years and had good success with it. But a few years back, it just didn't feel like it got us over the hump, and in the second and third round, and we went to a little more of a power, toe-to-toe offense, a double wing shotgun. And so, our theory always is going to be we're going to try to be real physical on the line, offensive, defensive lines, and run the ball physical. And we're run first. We're old school, bad old school, like 100 years old school. So, we did throw the ball 12, maybe 10, 12 times in wing tee, but now we're throwing it about 5 times a game. So it's whatever works for you. I'm not saying that's the only way. I'm just saying, I'm answering the question is that's why, I'm not.
Well, I have noticed, from watching Fife play your offense, I remember the first time I saw Fife play after you started coaching there, and still, and I know you've kind of changed, but the thing I noticed, a lot of physicality up front, very tough offensive line, but you create a lot of confusion in that backfield. You've got guys going in about 5 different directions a lot of times, and every one of them are fast. So you don't know where that ball's coming out, and you've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah, I don't know about all of them being fast, but some of them were. But we have had some good kids that were tough runners, and we try to show the defense a lot of confusion and handoffs, fake handoffs. And in those days we did more of it than we do now. Every year it's not like we recruit kids in like colleges to get my kind of this and my kind of that.
Right.
And if I did, I'd have 230-pound tailbacks and 260-pound fullbacks every year. But you have to change, I feel like. I don't have 6'4", 270-pound defensive ends and tight ends. Sometimes I may have 5'8", 160-pound tight ends. So I feel like you got to change sometimes. But we just try to do a physical brand of football, and we spend a lot of time in the weight room. And like I said, it's not the only way you can win. It's just it's the only way I know how to do it, and it's working pretty good right now.
Okay, talk about the defensive side of the ball. What do you try to do there?
Well, I think that our offense we're running now has really made our defense more physical than it was, and we've always really stressed running to the football, and every coach does. I don't think that's nothing new, that we want to try to get a lot of people to the football, but it's holding kids accountable to do that. And if you got enough people to keep them fresh, and that helps too, of course. But and it's our defense is the same way too. We have to change from year to year. Some years you don't have a 270-pound defensive nose guard or whatever. Sometimes I've got to make a living with a 175-pounder. If he's strong, quick, and tough, what I tell my kids all the time, everybody in here can play hard and be tough. You might not be tall, you might not be fast, but you can be tough, and you can.
I was about to say, and you touched on this. In the high school game, adaptability, coaches live and die by that, and you have to play the cards you're dealt from year to year. Of course, you've been dealt some pretty good cards the last few years, but let's talk a little bit about. We're doing a lot of the same questions. I want to ask a lot of the same questions as the coach, and this one is kind of comical for you. What's your takeaway from last season? I was thinking your answer would be everything. We took everything from last season, but seriously, I mean, your team obviously is used to success now. You're coming off another state championship. How many, I know you've lost some kids to graduation probably, and you're having to fill some holes. So looking back at last year and comparing it to this year, what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you, sitting here a year ago, I didn't envision, I know our kids at the end of the year was talking about how people doubted them, and they took that to heart, and people did doubt them, I'm not a very optimistic person, and I don't go into every year thinking that we're going to win the state. Sometimes you think, well, if everything falls right and the cards played, home games, playoffs, and all that, you just never know how it's going to fall a certain night.
Right.
And that's what happened 2 years ago. We go on the road and played a really good team at Sulligent. Could have won, could have lost, did lose, but. It's just some kids really stepped up last year after Peyton got hurt, and he's a really good player and a game changer, but our younger kids really stepped up, and I didn't, dumb as I am, I didn't know we was going to have 9th and 10th graders that just step up and turn into men.
And you did, and I heard you make comments several times last year, and we spoke toward the end of the season. After the end of the season, I remember interviewing you, and you were telling me how many true freshmen I think played sophomores played down the stretch in that last push through the finals to get back to Jordan-Hare Stadium. Obviously, replacing a player like a Peyton Anderson is difficult. You've got that on offense. Defensively, what would you say is your biggest gap you've got to fill there this year?
Well, we lost some good kids, seniors, that you just can't replace, and our numbers are down too. And and even though they may not be All-American players, they give it all they had, and they played tough, and I think our season will come down to injuries and lack of injuries. That's always to me been the luck of football. Some people just call everybody lucky, because they win games, but I don't think all of it's won on luck. But I do think that when the season starts, there could be 8 to 10 teams out there that could win it. And it comes down to that key guy getting hurt, and it comes down to the bracket sometimes, where you play possibly the best team. Last year, if we'd have to go to Ohatchee, we might not have a ring on our hands. So,
well, and we were talking earlier before we came on air about how the work ethic that is required to play at the level that Fife competes at, and that's not luck. That's just getting up every day, showing up early and grinding. But when you do that, I think statistically your chances of injury go up, and the caliber of teams that you're competing against as you get deep into the final increases the chances of injury even more. So certainly the injury bug can make or break a season, and last year you had it but overcame it.
Well, I do a lot of brainwashing, as some people call it, I guess, on playing the game and not making excuses.
Rub some dirt on it?
I guess so. Not necessarily that as much as just we're going to play through whatever happens and see what happens in the end.
Right.
And my kids believe in that, and they're
next man up and no excuses.
Yeah, I don't care what grade you're in, and I don't care who's hurt. And I do, not that I don't care who's hurt, but I cannot. It's like a little bit like the military, I guess, where, one man goes down, the whole army can't just leave. So,
exactly.
Our kids at Colbert County last year. That's a big deal right there when one of your best players and one of the best players around here goes down. And everybody can look at one another and say, we had a good year. We'll be 12-1, had a good year, 11-1. And it would have been a great year. But they don't look at it that way. These kids don't, and they're...
that kind of makes me think of some...
Kind of runs chills up my spine is what it does for me.
Makes me think of some Auburn teams back when they had Bo Jackson, and Bo would get hurt. And I can remember a few times thinking, uh-oh. And the team actually stepped up and played better. It was almost as if they're like, well, we can't rely on Bo to get it done.
And it's also like they bristle up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're more than one-man show.
Right, exactly.
And I think that's what happened to our kids last year, that, hey, Peyton Anderson's good, but by George, some of the rest of us can play too.
Exactly.
We're going to show people what we can do.
Exactly. Well, August 5th is opening a fall camp. You've come through. It's on you again.
How fast
I know you don't get much time to relax and celebrate your success, but how satisfied were you with spring practice? You've come through spring practice now, had summer workouts. Where do you feel that your team is at this juncture, headed into fall camp, as compared to this time last year? And again, how did you feel about spring practice itself?
Well, I think we had a good spring. Like I said, our numbers are down. We're going to have to approach practice a little bit different. Again, one of these small school things that a couple of years ago, we could have a full-scale scrimmage and not be too worried about it. But it'll be a lot of group work things from now on for a few years at 5, and trying to get better 1-on-1, 2-on-2 instead of a team thing. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I've hollered too much. So, coming out of spring, we played a real physical team from Georgia and got to play at Jacksonville State. Our kids are so blessed and been able to play now. A lot of our 10th graders have been on the field at Crampton Bowl, Montgomery. They've been to Auburn. They've been to Tuscaloosa, some of them, and now they got to play at Jacksonville State. So I don't think they realize, just how fortunate they are. But our guys have come to work this summer, and for this time of year, I think we're in really good shape. But, again, that's in shorts. And now you're just getting in shape to get in shape.
Right.
When you get the pads on, and if you think you can go out there with 30 players and get in shape by beating on one another for 4 or 5 hours, and some people can do that, but I probably won't. But so you don't know. The early games could be. Of course, our first game, Geraldine, one of the best teams they've had, probably, and I know that's going to be tough. But we're going to play every game, and I don't go the game and wonder if our kids are going to lay it on the line, because most of the ones are gone. It's not going to do that. So.
Well, you're getting ahead of me. You've moved on to my
sorry.
next question. No, that's fine. Looking ahead at the 2019 season, I've got your schedule here, and obviously we went down your area games a minute ago. You'll open up at Geraldine. That's a non-area game, but your area game section: Collinsville, Asbury, Sandrock, Cedar Bluff, North Sand Mountain, and Ider. Looking at your 2019 schedule, what do you think, and what challenges it presents? And I mean, I know some people would laugh at the question because I'm sitting here talking to Fife's head coach, but I know you're a modest guy and you understand football. Anything can happen on any given day, and people can sneak up on you. And when you look down your schedule, what concerns you the most? I know you've already mentioned Geraldine. I know.
Well, Collinsville has tons of people returning, and
got a good quarterback.
Got a great quarterback, and just is going to be probably the team in our region. North Sand will be good again.
Another good quarterback.
And Cedar Bluff's always got speed, and we got to go over there this year. We got Collinsville, North Sand at home this year, which that's been a pretty tough place to play. If we stay healthy, we feel like that's the game right there. The early game with Collinsville is going to decide some things, but you don't ever know. But you got to play it one at a time. And I know our people and fans think we're going to, we're getting that thing where we think we're going to win it. We do want to think we're going to win every game, but we still need the fans.
You're getting ahead of me.
Sorry.
You're getting ahead of me again, because that was the next question I was going to ask. Specific to you, when you have success like that, and you hear coaches say that, what you said, you want your team to expect to win, but there's a very fine line there between expecting to win and growing apathetic. And what do you do as a head coach when you got 3 state championships in the last 5 years and played in more title games than that? What do you do day in and day out to keep your team balanced on that precipice of good expectations, but don't think, hey, we can just phone it in now, we're 5.
Yeah.
And the community too, because parents have effects on what their kids think.
That's the things you fight all the time. And living in a world like we live in, where you're not supposed to tell nobody anything bad, everything's supposed to be positive. Well, I'm not always positive. And I'm positive of this. I'm positive if you don't keep an edge about you and stay hungry and want to get better. And we talk about getting better all the time, regardless of who we're playing or what we're doing, but just the fact, take one day at a time. And if you get into thinking you're so good, you'll find out that what it's like being at the top, because everybody has us circled, and every player's goal in life right now is to beat 5.
Right.
And I remember being in school, and that's the way we thought of people that beat us.
Yeah.
And we just got to keep, like you said, grinding and trying to get better every day. Our 10th graders ought to be better this year than they were last year. I just gave this speech yesterday. I ought to be a better coach than I was last year. And our 9th graders ought to be better this year than they were. Our 11th graders ought to be better. And if they're not, then that's my job. And I'm not real smart. And I don't have no special X's and O's that's going to trick anybody. But I've been real good over the years at keeping people focused on what they need to do and not letting the community take over and tell them what games they're going to win and by how much and who we're going to play in the 3rd round of the playoffs. Right. You fight that every school, every coach has. I fought that in other places too.
Another question that I've always, more of an observation than a question that I've always wanted to make to you and get your take on. I have watched Fife. I've had the opportunity to watch them a few times in the playoffs over the last few years. And one game comes to mind that was just a perfect illustration of this. And this is what I tell everybody. If I'm ever in a conversation about Fife where it comes up, how do they do this? How do they win like that? How do they keep going? One of the great strengths of your football team, and this is a testament to you as a coach, is discipline. And I think that is so important in the high school game at that level, because I see Fife go up against teams in the playoffs that may have
we didn't win the eye test, did we?
May have more athletic talent. And the one
we lost the eye test.
The one I said that came to mind was when Lafayette came up to Fife a couple of years ago, and Booby Whitlow, quarterback.
Who's playing at Auburn?
At Auburn, quarterback. And I could sense early in that game the frustration in that kid, because he had played probably 13 or 14 games up to that point. I think 13 maybe at that point, where when he juked, everybody went that way, and he had an empty hole he could run through, and he didn't find that at Fife. Every time he juked and then went back the other way, that Fife guy was right where he was supposed to be, filling the gap he was supposed to fill, and you could sense the frustration.
Well, when we let out a bunch of rabbits that week in practice and on field, and we just quartered them rabbits up. No, you're right. You're exactly right, and that was our plan: is don't juke when he jives and don't jive when he jukes. It took the whole team.
But it's hard to get kids to do that. I mean, that just they've got that natural reaction. But not just that game. I mean, I've seen that over and over. Your team plays so disciplined.
But discipline don't just start that week.
It will, yeah.
Discipline starts when I tell you you're not going to make an F at school without some kind of consequences. You're not going to miss a workout just because your stomach hurts every day. You're not going to do this. That's hard. That's hard to do in these times because Lord knows, everybody knows you got to go to the dentist during athletic period during practice.
Right.
Because you got to keep your teeth clean.
Right.
Other than doing it during the summer and on days when you don't practice.
Good dental hygiene is important to
championships.
It is.
It's crucial.
And
I'm all for it.
But you know, and I know you get questions like this, but seriously though, that aspect of it, the discipline, I hate to ask you to give a percentage, but how important would you say that is in relation to just raw talent?
Well, if you coach in some of these small schools, and especially in this county, you're not going. You talked about talent a while ago. A lot of our talent, we may have one or two guys that's kind of talented, but we have a 75% of our team that's made themselves a decent football player by working.
Yeah.
That's how year to year. Now, yeah, there's a Peyton Anderson that comes through, and there's a Austin Stiefel sometimes, and a Dylan Kilpatrick. And you say those guys, they came in 7th grade and had talent, and they worked also. And another thing, a lot of places, talent, the good players don't have to work like the others. Well, I think most of my kids will say that the talent works just like the average guy.
Well, and I know we were talking earlier about teams trying to, and coaches sometimes.
But discipline is a necessary evil on every level.
Oh, yes.
College and pro. That's because when you get up in college, everybody's good. So what's going to be the difference in you and the next guy?
Exactly, and there's some of them find that out the hard way.
And it's self-discipline when they get up older.
Well, and two, another thing I've noticed when Fife walks on the field, several times I've seen this and I've thought, they just don't seem fired up at all. They just look dead. And I know what's the deal. And we talked about that a minute ago. When you've put in the work, day in and day out, and you've got yourself ready to play, you don't really have to whip yourself into a frenzy. And if you've got to, you've done something wrong.
You've done a lot. If the guys do all that I require them to do, and I'm hard on them, and I admit I am, and I'm not apologizing for it, but I'm just telling you that if you do what you're supposed to do at our place to play, then you shouldn't need anything but somebody just to put a helmet on you and let's go. It's Friday night. Why do all this work? Why let this little short fat guy holler at you all year long and not go out and take it out on somebody?
Exactly.
See, I try to have them imagine my face on everybody's helmet.
Exactly.
No, I'm just kidding, but not really. But I'm sure some of them do. They think, I've heard this for a year now. I want to go out and beat somebody up, but. No.
Well, I've got one last question for you, Coach. You've had a lot of success. We talked about in Jordan-Hare Stadium down at Auburn.
We love that place.
And so how happy are you that they're renovating Bryant-Denny and the Super 7's going to be back for the second year?
Isn't that awesome? Is that a sign, a good sign or something?
Well, it must be. It may be.
I like that. We really get treated good down there. And we feel like that's our lucky charm. Of course, we'll have to wear white uniforms if we go. So if the state names us home team, we'll probably deny that if we ever got that far again to go.
Well, yeah.
We're really hopefully not. I mean, I know a lot of fans are looking already, probably thinking that, but that's the furthest thing on my mind. Really, honestly, it is.
Right.
And I hope our kids are striving for that, but they also striving to be better every day.
Got to get ready for Geraldine first.
Sure. What else can you do?
Exactly. Well, Coach, it's been enjoyable. We're glad to have you in here today to talk with us.
By the way, before we move on, I'd like to tell you we also have a jamboree this fall where we're going to Florence and playing Mars Hills.
Yes, I saw that on the.
So we'd like
little background on them?
That should help us a little bit right there. To
Okay.
get, if we were thinking we was good, we might find
You'll
that.
find it out then.
Yeah, they pretty much ran roughshod through some names like Linden, who beat Maplesville, who beat Lynette, so we're talking big stuff.
I know
right there.
about.
And they have
Maplesville.
several coming back. They have 2 linemen that I think's been recruited.
Every time I hear Maplesville, I think about Tommy Agee. Remember Tommy Agee?
I do. I thought he might have been a little brother playing one night when we went down there.
Well, listen, it's been great to have you with us, Coach. We
Appreciate
appreciate you coming in. Head coach of the Fife Red Devils, Paul Benefield, and getting ready to make another run, hopefully for another blue plaque.
Be nice.
That's going to do it for this edition of the Mountain Valley News North Jackson 2019 football preview show. And want you to be looking out for our other shows as we talk to other coaches around the area before the 2019 season kicks off.
Building your dream home is one of the great joys in life. At First Southern State Bank, we know construction and mortgage financing, putting today's low rates to work for you. As you and your family move closer to the completion of your new home, we know that your home is where memories are made and families grow stronger year after year. At First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, Scott Kirk stands ready to tailor the right construction loans to meet your needs, along with our staff of experienced loan professionals. Drop by to share your dreams with us today in Rainsville. First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, all the bank you'll ever need.
Folks, this is Andy White down here at Bobby Ledbetter's Twin City in Fort Payne, Alabama. I want to invite everybody to come out to our new location. We're at 1411 Glen Boulevard, right where you turn to go on Airport Road. We've got plenty of inventory for you to choose from. I got cars, trucks, vans, sport utility vehicles of any make and model. Come down here and visit us. Let us see what we can do for you. If you got some slow credit, I've got some banks that'll take care of that. We've got great financing, got a great selection of cars. Y'all come down here and see us.
Don't take the first deal that comes along when you can do better at BobbyLedbetter.com and Twin City Used Car Sales, located at 1411 Glen Boulevard in South Fort Payne.